Now, you might think to yourself, and I've thought this in the past, of like, I'm not a motivated person. And maybe you follow people on social media who always seem to be motivated. And, we kind of look to others to inspire us. But the truth is, and the truth that we know because we live this, is that motivation has to come from within us to really mean anything, right? For us to get going and to sustain this new momentum or direction in life, it has to come from within us.
You're watching Developing Potential with Diana Keuilian.
Hi, friends. Welcome back. Today, we are talking about motivation. This is a show about self-development and to develop ourselves and to grow and to change for the better. We really need motivation to get us going and to really push us into this momentum towards change and towards this next version of ourselves. And so, friends, sometimes we find ourselves just lacking motivation. And I don't know if you're there. For me, this time of year, it's like the holidays are happening and there's so much to do. It's easy to start feeling this lack of motivation towards our personal goals. And so I personally have been feeling that a little bit in December, just wanting to feel more motivation to go out. And for me specifically right now, it's to get in the gym more and to do my workouts. I've been focusing on my school and focusing on my work as a clinician and all of these career-based goals. And I've found that my motivation for being in the gym, 4 to 5 days a week and really pushing myself has been like lower. And so today I'm like, you know what? We're going to talk about motivation and it's going to help me. And hopefully it's also going to give you a little boost in your own life to just go after what you want. So the reason that we really need motivation is that motivation sets high achievers apart from really the average. And, in this culture that I come from here, we hear that average is the enemy, and when we have this mindset of, I want to push myself, I want to develop into this next version of myself. Really, what we're trying to do is to not just be average and to just sort of exist, right? Just going through the motions, maybe doing the bare minimum in life. We're like, no, I want more, right? And you kind of feel this like bubbling of potential in you, right? We talk about our radiance, and you might feel like there's more radiance here that I want to uncover, and I want to be able to live with this momentum and this spark. And so motivation is really key to get us going in the right direction. I can remember a time in my life a couple of years ago where I was really in kind of a dark place and was in kind of a transition with my career. I hadn't yet decided on what I was going to do. I knew I wanted to change. I knew I wasn't happy in my day-to-day, but I wasn't quite sure what the next move was for me. I just knew it wasn't the status quo, like I needed to change. But I didn't have the confidence really to move on that, like to move on a career goal. But what I did do is I kind of channeled this like unrest into a fitness challenge. And so I did 12 weeks and I lost 30 pounds. And I really put it out there for the public. And I posted my pictures along the way, really got this fueled this motivation to change in me. And once I was able to transform my body, my confidence went up. And that's when I applied for graduate school and just made that decision. I kind of like had this motivation turned into momentum. And then that momentum allowed me to make a bigger change in my life, which was I want to change my career. I want to get an education that will allow me to work in a different sphere, in a different way with people. And so, that motivation really helps us grow in advance. Now, you might think to yourself, and I've thought this in the past, of like, I'm not a motivated person. And maybe you follow people on social media who always seem to be motivated. And, we kind of look to others to inspire us. But the truth is, and the truth that we know because we live this, is that motivation has to come from within us to really mean anything, right? For us to get going and to sustain this new momentum or direction in life, it has to come from within us. And so we may look at others and see what they're doing and be inspired for a second, or maybe we're kind of more like a little envious of like, wow, there they are doing something else, right? There they are, they've got their life going, but I don't. And sometimes, scrolling these inspirational people on social media can actually make us start to feel a little bit worse about ourselves. Like if the gap is so great between me and this person that I'm aspiring to be, maybe like, what's the point of trying to do that first step today? And so we're looking for that inner spark. And, as I've been reflecting on this concept of motivation, because like I shared, for me right now in my life, I'm coming to the end of my graduate school education for my master's, and I'm now immersed in the field as a clinician, getting my hours with a supervisor, and it's been pretty all-consuming, especially at the pace that I'm doing it. And my time in the gym, exercising, working my muscles, working my cardio system has been diminished, right? I definitely still work out, but I haven't been really focused on a goal. And I've felt that kind of like unease start to build in myself of like, I need to be more motivated in the gym. Like this is a value that I have to be fit and to be active and to not just go and put in time exercising, but to do it with intention, right? And to do it with purpose and with progression. And so the term for me is coming to a close soon. And since I am really getting to the end of this program, this next term is going to be way lighter as far as my work in academics. And so I'm really trying to set the scene for myself to be able to set up a goal with exercise and really go after it. So the first step that I'm following, this is what has worked for me in the past, is really having a clear picture of what you want to achieve. Maybe you're sitting there thinking to yourself, like, I lack motivation in exercise, or I lack motivation in losing the weight that I know I need to lose. I just don't have the motivation. So this first step for both of us is really to set a clear picture of what you want and making sure that it's a single clear goal. And this is where I kind of get myself off track with, sometimes I'll have like 3 goals at once, and that never works. When we try to spread ourselves too thin, it never works. And that's kind of what I'm hitting up against with like going really hard after my career goals and my education goals right now, and then realizing like I don't have the capacity to also go full steam towards a fitness goal. And so setting the timeline for yourself, and maybe even, doing things in 12-week chunks in your life where it's like, hey, the beginning of the year is coming up, setting that first 12 weeks as this time frame where you've got that one goal, and that one goal is to get in shape, and making it super clear. Research has shown us that goal setting works. If we just have this vague idea of like, I want to get in shape, but we don't define like, what does get in shape mean to you? And making that goal as clear as you can. And I always like to go back to Maxwell Maltz and his amazing book, Psychocybernetics, and he talks about the theater of the mind. And there's so much power I just picture like this huge movie screen in my mind and projecting onto it this goal, like me having accomplished this goal and having such clarity around it and being able to go into the theater of your mind and to turn this movie on, right? And so if your goal with this new year coming up is like, I'm going to lose, 15 pounds, and having this clear picture of yourself at that goal, but also having the process, so often, and this moves into the second one, which is intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic motivation. And so really, the intrinsic motivation is motivation for the act of the process. You ask yourself, what do I enjoy about the process? What do you enjoy about a workout? Like, what do you enjoy about eating healthy? We all know how to lose weight. We all know how to find a meal plan that's going to work for our goals. And we all know how to find a workout plan or to enroll ourselves in a fitness program that's going to get, that exercise in that we need. But what do you enjoy about the day-to-day process? And I feel like that is the key to keeping this momentum going, and momentum being motivation, right? So what do you enjoy about the workout? And for me, it's how I feel after. And sometimes even during the workout, like the way that your muscles feel when they're under strain, right? Finding something that you enjoy about the process and focusing on that, doing it for that enjoyment, and then that bigger goal, eventually we're going to get there. So another great thing to keep in mind is starting small, right? Taking these small steps and really starting with the easiest step, right? So for me, it's like, how do I get myself to the gym? Like that's the lowest thing, is just like get myself there and then maybe do something that feels enjoyable and build on that momentum, right? So breaking a big goal into these small little steps and then just getting ourselves to do that first step. And I really do think of motivation and momentum almost as the same thing. Because if you think about a time in your life when you were really motivated and you were going after something, you had this clear goal and you were finding joy in the process, and really your motivation was this momentum, right? This pull to do it, as opposed to this feeling of blockage, of being stuck and kind of immobility. That would be the opposite of motivation. Motivation is the act and the process of doing it. And so when we really talk about motivation, we're asking ourselves to do is to find reasons to enjoy the movement and the momentum of it. And so that's really the task at hand. When you find like, hey, there's this thing I want to do, I am lacking motivation, defining it for yourself. This is exactly what I want to accomplish. And then finding something that you love about the process of working towards that goal. And then focusing on that piece, that intrinsic motivation piece, every single day. Another thing that's worked for me in the past is not just to scroll social media and look for someone who's like aspirational, but to find someone in your real life who's living in some momentum, because that can be so contagious. And our intimate partner is always the person that's going to have the most influence over us. And so it's always so cool with Bedros and I, we almost like we take turns in like really being locked onto a goal and living out, like demonstrating these healthy habits. And then it's crazy how, like right now he's really locked onto his fitness and his nutrition, and he's doing all this jujitsu, and he's got so much excitement and momentum moving towards like this healthy lifestyle. And I've been noticing for myself, like, oh my gosh, like just almost like the gravitational pull of his motivation right now is having this positive impact on me. So looking in your life, like who in your life has some positive momentum going, and how can you spend more time with them and allow their influence to really, resonate with you. And, if we're looking at motivation and momentum as like inertia, And if your inertia right now is stagnant, you're just stuck. You're like, I need to get going into the motion of it. Being around someone who's doing it can have like this automatic pull to kind of get our engine going as well. Another thing that I love about, getting momentum and then sustaining momentum, right? Because it's one thing to have a goal that you want to go after, to start getting some momentum and finding something that you love about the process. But then how do you sustain that ongoing to really make a big change in your life? And this is such a simple thing, but creating streaks, and so many things in our life now are gamified. I have this meditation app that I use every single day. And I can tell you with certainty that I use it every single day because I have a streak going. And it's incredible how motivating maintaining a streak can be, and I love meditation for the benefits, but I would be lying if I told you that my motivation wasn't like, I don't want to break my streak, and in the past, I think my streak was like 456 days in a row, and then I broke it. And so now I've been locked on to, I'm going to meditate for, more days than that. And so how can you, as you've got your momentum going, what can you do to kind of gamify and track your streak of your progress? And so, going back to my motivating factor of like, I want to get back into my workouts really hardcore and I want to go after a fitness goal, something as simple as putting an X on a physical calendar for every day that you do what you're supposed to do. So for me, it would be get that workout in. And this actually comes from Jerry Seinfeld, and how someone had asked him, like, how is it that you're such a good comedian and you have all this great material? And he's like, well, I write a lot of jokes. And like, well, how do you motivate yourself to write every day? And he calls it like he doesn't want to break the chain, where he puts an X on the calendar every day that he writes. And so if you do an X and then the next day you do an X and the next day, and you kind of start to create a chain. Well, if there's a day and you don't do it, well, you've broken the chain, right? And so this is just sort of like an old school way to create a streak for yourself. And it sounds so simple, but I think it has to do with, like giving ourselves a little burst of dopamine when we can do that little X on the calendar, or however that looks like for you. With technology and all these different apps, maybe you have a habit tracking app and you can track your streak. Or if you're a journaler, like putting it down physically somewhere. Or I love to have an actual physical calendar where I can see like, oh, did it, and then just getting that momentum and then that desire to like, hey, maybe I don't want to work out today, but I am not going to break my streak. I want to keep the chain going. That's another thing that has worked for me in the past. And I'm feeling incredibly motivated right now to really get into the momentum of working towards this next version of myself. And I hope that you are feeling some of that as well. But I thank you so much for joining me. And I just want to applaud you for continuing to push in your own personal development, where we have one life on this planet. And what do we do with the time? Like, what do we do? And we talked about, average is the enemy, and really wanting to unleash the potential that we have at our core, that you can feel. You have more potential, and really just taking it upon yourself to go after that potential every single day. So good for you for doing that. I'm proud of you. I'm happy that you're here with me on this self-development journey. And I will see you next week. Like, subscribe, and drop me a comment.
Thanks for watching Developing Potential with Diana Keuilian.